I think it's 12 o'clock, so I can officially say good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to the East Tennessee History Center. We're so glad that you're here with us today. My name is Adam Alfrey, and on behalf of all the team members here, we're glad that you're here and participating in this really special program that we have today. Our genealogy series is a joint program between the Knox County Public Library and the East Tennessee Historical Society. And we'd also like to express appreciation to our sponsors of this series, which is East Tennessee PBS, Friends of the Knox County Public Library, and our partners at Knoxville Community Media, which record the program and make it available as an archival copy. So we certainly always appreciate their support. As individuals are coming in, we just want to make them aware, and all of you aware of some upcoming programs that we hope you join us again for. Later this week on Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock, Bill Carey will be with us. His topic at that time is Colossal Change, Tennessee in the Early 1800s. So no doubt that'll be a great program. It'll be right here in this room, 5 o'clock. Feel free to join us for that. And then next Monday, same time, same genealogy place, we'll be having another genealogy workshop, this time by Myers Brown, who's the director of Belmont Mansion. But he's also a noted Tennessee military historian. Another time he's going to help us look at military service records and how we interpret them. So looking at those forms and looking at the data in those where it's entered, what does those fields mean and how do you interpret them so that you can really put together your ancestors' military story. So that will be another great workshop. We're certainly honored, though, to go to our topic at hand today, which is Cherokee Genealogy 101. I'd like to give a special thanks to our friends at the Sequoia Birthplace Museum who made the connection with us and our speaker today. I'd also like to recognize a special guest in our room today, who's Robin Swaney from the Museum of the Cherokee People. She's here with us today, the genealogist there at the museum. I know, speaking on behalf of the museum team here, we've enjoyed getting to know the museum team there and working together on interpreting Cherokee culture and history. So that's been a great partnership, and we're glad you're with us today. And without further ado, we have with us today Anita Finger-Smith. She's with Cherokee Genealogy Services. It's been great to get to know her via emails and preparing for this talk, and I know you're going to enjoy her presentation today, which she told me is usually a much larger version, but it's been condensed down especially for us, so I know you'll enjoy it. Anita Finger-Smith.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank Adam for the invite. This is a great facility. As previously stated, my name is Anita Finger-Smith. Finger is the birthright part of my surname, and it was inherited from an ancestor who was an 18th century German immigrant. Smith is the birthright portion of my surname that belongs to my husband, David, who is an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. Though I have a business license through the tribe, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, I do not speak on their behalf. I am an independent researcher, and I present as such. Before we begin, I want to offer a couple disclaimers. First, due to the historic nature of this talk, I will use verbiage that might seem politically offensive in today's world. It is a history talk. Second, if you use or share any of the graphics from the handouts, screenshots, please be sure to include the appropriate credits. There are a few items in this presentation that I did not develop. Therefore, be sure to give those people credit. If you have questions regarding your personal research, please save those until after the session is over. Your personal questions are not relevant to everybody else in the room. and we don't want to take up everybody's time with your question. Sorry, okay? And I have been reminded that if you, during the Q&A session at the end, not your personal questions, but questions regarding today's presentation, I have been asked that if you ask a question to be sure to speak up. And if you don't speak up, I will try to reiterate the question so that the videographer can not all of a sudden have an open-ended answer to a question that nobody knew what it was. Today I've been given a finite amount of time for my talk, so I will stick to my talking points with only a few sidebars because I can really go down a rabbit hole, okay? And so I'm going to try to, Robin's over there just shaking her head real fast, so I'm going to try to stay on target there. Many people with traditions of a Cherokee ancestor wish to document their lineage for a variety of purposes. Some people want to join the tribe, a tribe. Some want to seek possible minority business or educational opportunities. And others just want to verify a family tradition or belief, fact or fiction, passed from generation to generation that they descend from an American Indian. Today, using a broad stroke of the brush, I will introduce you to the basic historic tribal enrollment protocol and the documentary evidence available to conduct Cherokee genealogical research. When it comes to Cherokee genealogy, there are basically 5 groups of people. You must be open to any possibility that any of these 5 situations could be relevant to you. In some cases, rumors of Cherokee ancestry in a family just turn out to be false. It is possible that some families who are trying to find Cherokee roots are neither Cherokee or not even Native American. In a few cases, a family may find that while the rumor has always been that they are Cherokee, in reality, it might be a totally different tribe. In some cases, rumors of Cherokee ancestry in a family just can never be proven or traced. The family may be, in fact, connected to a historic Cherokee person, but because of the nature of Cherokee history, some family histories are difficult, if not impossible, to document. This could be because the family intermarried with whites and passed as white, or because the family moved away from the tribe very early on and was never recorded as Cherokee on any official records. There are some families who can prove that they are Cherokee, but they are not eligible for enrollment in any of the federally recognized Cherokee tribes. The reason for this is that the Cherokee Nation was made to sign numerous rolls through the history of their early contact with the United States government. In these cases, however, the family's ancestors may have left the Cherokee Nation or the Eastern Cherokee boundary before the final rolls. The Dawes and the Baker, we'll talk more about those. Or the family's ancestors refused to sign the final rolls because of the negative experience with rolls in the past. In the case of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, there could also be families who have ancestors on a roll or even the final roll, but they do not meet the blood quantum requirement for enrollment, and we'll talk more about that as well. Lastly, there are some families which will find a direct ancestor on one of the rolls and meet all other requirements and will be able to register with their tribe. Every family who is beginning to search for their Cherokee ancestors, of course, hopes to be in the last group. However, the majority will not be. It's important not to set your hopes too high or expect too much. Tracing your genealogy should be fun and exciting, and an exciting journey into the past. Families may not find what they're looking for, but hopefully they will learn a bit about their family history in the process. The first and best rule of researching your Cherokee ancestor is this: one should proceed to research the family in the same manner if the Indian did not exist. Start your genealogical research with yourself. Don't start in a historic tribe or a historic record back in the 1700s. That is most often the wrong approach. Instead, begin researching current rather than historic records. If you're not currently a member of a federally recognized tribe, band, or group, research should begin in non-Indian records or other public records, such as those maintained by state and local governments, churches, and schools. You should find all the information you can about your parents, your grandparents, and more distant ancestors and write the information down. Does that sound just like basic genealogy? Yes. The most important information, of course, is the vital statistics, including ancestral names, dates of birth, marriage, divorce, death, the place where the ancestors were born, lived, married, and died. If the purpose of researching your Cherokee ancestry is to join a tribe, again, you're not alone. This is the largest common goal among most Cherokee genealogy quests. When establishing descent from an Indian tribe for membership for enrollment purposes, you must provide genealogical documentation. The documentation must prove that you descend from an ancestor who was a member of a federally recognized tribe from which you claim descent. There's a great deal of confusion and misunderstanding about tribal membership and what is required to join each Cherokee tribe. But first of all, one must ask, what is the purpose of tribal enrollment? It's not to provide a monthly check. There has long been a myth that Indians receive a monthly check from the United States government because of their status as Indians. There's no basis for this belief other than misinformation and misconception of the status of American Indians. Some tribes have successful businesses that do defense contracting, they operate casinos, they have information technology companies, They sell spring water. They make candy. The Chickasaw has a huge candy business. If profits warranted and tribal members approve it, funds from these operations can be paid out as monthly, yearly, or occasional stipends, also called per capita, to the tribal members. And it's not set across the board. The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians does have casinos. So does the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. The tribal members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians voted to per cap part of the casino money. The Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma voted not to per cap their casinos money. So it's entirely up to the tribal members, tribal council, and business committee. So what is the real purpose of tribal enrollment? Tribal enrollment requirements preserve the unique character and traditions of each tribe. The tribes establish criteria based on shared customs, traditions, language, and tribal blood. Tribal enrollment criteria are set forth in tribal constitutions, articles of incorporation, or tribal ordinances. And the criterion varies from tribe to tribe. So uniform membership requirements do not exist. Did you know that there are actually 3 federally recognized Cherokee tribes? These are the Cherokee Nation, headquartered in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, headquartered in Cherokee, North Carolina, and the United Gadua Band, also headquartered in Oklahoma. If the purpose for your research is for tribal enrollment, do you know the requirements? In order to register with the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, you must be directly descendant from a person who was listed on the final rolls of citizenship of the 5 civilized tribes, namely the Cherokee. This roll is commonly known as the Dawes roll, and blood quantum is not a factor in the Cherokee Nation tribal citizenship eligibility. That Dawes roll was taken circa 1898, and the Cherokee Nation has over 450,000 members nationwide. What is required to join the United Gadua Band? In order to register with the UKB, you must directly descend from a person who is listed on the Gadua base roll and calculated as a minimum of 1/4 degree blood quantum. The base roll was taken in 1949. A base roll is the original list of members as designated in a tribal constitution or other document specifying enrollment criterion. So the base roll for the UKB, again, was established in 1949. In order to register with the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in North Carolina, you must be directly descended from a person who was listed on the Baker roll, the base roll, which was taken circa 1924, and calculated as a minimum of 1/16 degree blood quantum. The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and Robin and I messaged the enrollment officer last week and said, as of today, how many enrolled members are there? And there is 16,276 enrolled members. So if someone's died or been born since last week, that number might change a little bit. The UKB, I think I skipped that one, they're right at 14,300. They are the smallest of the three Cherokee tribes. None of the federally recognized Cherokee tribes accept DNA evidence as proof for enrollment. One of the most common questions we get is, how can I get my blood tested so that I can prove that I'm Cherokee and get on the roll? The simple answer is you can't. Okay? It is true there are Native American genetic markers that can be found in DNA testing methods, but the tests only indicate if a person might possibly be Native American. It will not go as far as to indicate a tribal affiliation. Some tribes do require DNA testing as part of their enrollment process, and the Eastern Band does, but only in establishing the probability of paternity and or maternity of the applicant. Meaning, are the parents listed on the enrollment application the real parents of the applicant, or on the birth certificate? And that has happened to keep blood quantum higher so that the blood quantum does not drop below the minimum. The incorrect father might be listed. So over time, they have realized paternity and maternity tests are necessary. If the purpose of your research is not necessarily to apply for membership, but to verify a tribal connection between your ancestor and an individual on the historic Cherokee rolls, again, you're not alone. The Cherokee rolls were taken between the early parts of the 19th century to the mid-20th century. These rolls were often taken as a result of land or money distribution due to new treaties or U.S. policies relating to the Cherokee. These rolls are the only official rolls of those people who lived both in Eastern and Western territories, and finding your ancestors on one of these rolls means that your family was either a Cherokee citizen. So when you look at these historic rolls and you find your ancestor there, it means they were either a Cherokee citizen, an intermarried white, whites living under permit, Cherokee freedmen, or others who are granted Cherokee citizenship by the tribe. However, finding an ancestor listed on a roll does not necessarily mean that you'll be able to register for one of the tribes. This is because, again, only the three rolls, the base rolls, the Dawes for the Cherokee Nation, the 1949 United Kituwa Band base roll, and the Baker roll are the only rolls used for tribal membership. You might find an ancestor, on the 1868 roll. That is for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. That is not the 1924 Baker roll, and that does not make you eligible for membership. Rolls relevant to the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma are the Cherokee Census of 1835. This has been published, transcribed and published by the Oklahoma Trail of Tears Association, and you can fairly well find this online. The Drennan Roll of 1851, 1852, it recorded those Cherokee. First of all, the census of 1835 was a census of all Cherokee living in the southeast prior to removal of some Cherokee to Indian Territory. When the Treaty of New Echota was signed, the removal treaty, part of the article stated there had to be a census taken of all Cherokee living in the Cherokee Nation. And the purpose of that census was to figure out, first of all, how many people are we going to have to remove? This census also lists how many horses they have, how many apple trees. There's a lot of information here, but the basis of it is to figure out how many people is the federal government going to have to transport from the southeast to Indian Territory on the other side of the Mississippi River. Now remember, the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma are those individuals who were removed to Indian Territory, and the Drennan Roll of 1851-1852 is a record of those Cherokee who went to Indian Territory in 1839. Okay. The Wallace Roll of 1888 is a schedule of names of Cherokee freedmen of the Cherokee Nation. Cherokee freedmen are people of African descent who have the right to Cherokee citizenship as former slaves or mixed black Cherokee. The Kern-Clifton Roll, taken between 1896 and 1897, again is a schedule of names of Cherokee freedmen. It was created because the Wallace Roll really left off a whole lot of people. So the Kern-Clifton Roll is an update to the Wallace Roll. And then the last one being the Dawes Roll. Remember, this is the base roll for those people in Oklahoma now. It's the final roll of the Western Cherokee. This roll ended the Cherokee Nation tribal lands in Oklahoma. They don't have a reservation out there. They are now not through legislation, they are now calling a certain portion of the land a reservation. Their original lands, but I'm not so sure that there's been a congressional designation for that yet. The Dawes Roll was taken for land allotment. So when Oklahoma was almost developed as statehood, the Cherokee lands was allotted to individual Cherokee. So if I was a Cherokee living in the Cherokee Nation and I got a land allotment, didn't mean I wasn't on the roll. It just means they are dispensing of the tribal lands in current day Oklahoma, and the person with the allotments could keep it. They could sell it to other Cherokee. They could sell it to non-Cherokee. It was just like your deeded property today. There are very few people very few Cherokee in Oklahoma who still live on their original land allotment. I know a few who do, but it's not very common. So those rolls, if you're looking for a person that might have lived or went to the west of the Mississippi, these are the rolls you might want to take a look at. If your person never left Georgia, you might want to check out that 1835 census, but I'm not so sure the rest of those. And when you're looking at rolls, please keep in mind, place and time is important. Okay, place and time is important. For instance, if you're looking at the Dawes Roll of 1898, if you're just looking at the Dawes Roll and you find a name that's common to one of your names, was that person even alive in 1898? Was that person in Indian Territory, or were they down in Georgia someplace or North Carolina someplace? Place and time is very important. So let's look at the rolls relevant to the UKB. The United Gadua Band, remember there in Oklahoma current day? The 1807 Immigration Roll. This roll recorded those Cherokee who chose to immigrate to Indian Territory west of the Mississippi prior to the Trail of Tears. So you have two groups of people that ended up in Indian Territory. You have those people who chose to go out prior to the Trail of Tears. The dividing line there is the immigration rolls were taken from 1817 to 1835. The Treaty of New Echota, the removal treaty, was signed in 1835. So after 1835, you're looking at those people who were removed on the Trail of Tears if they ended up in Indian Territory. So these are relevant to the UKB. The old settler roll, those people who went west, those people who chose to go west, were deemed or called the old settlers. They went in before the forced removal, and again, they became known as the old settlers, and there was a roll taken of those people in 1851. And again, we've talked about the UKB base roll being taken in 1949. The rolls relevant to the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians.
Wow.
You got a lot of looking to do. I've indicated with a checkbox official rolls used by the enrollment office of the Eastern Band. Now, this is not just the 1924 base roll, but if you were to call the enrollment office and ask them to process or to hire them to do your genealogy to see if you are eligible for rolls, the ones with the check mark are basically the ones they take a look at. Unfortunately, there were very few records kept of the Cherokee people prior to their relationship with the United States. The tribal rolls were a way for the United States government to identify Indians, both prior to and after removal. There were at least 15 rolls which recorded the Cherokee who resided east of the Mississippi River, and as you can see, beginning in 1817 until the present time. 1924 was the Baker roll. Currently, people on Robin, her tribal card, she is on the revised Baker roll, meaning any Eastern Band Cherokee born after 1924. They're still on the Baker roll, but they have an R in front of their enrollment number. Last week when we messaged the enrollment officer and asked her how many people there were, we also asked her how many original Baker roll people are there still living. So this would be people who are on this 1924 Baker roll still living as members of the Eastern Band. There's 3. So once these 3 people pass on, there will be no more original Baker enrollees. Everyone will have an R in front of their enrollment number. These rolls were often taken as a result of land or money distributions due to the treaties and policies related to the Cherokee. These rolls, coupled with the censuses of the Cherokee, and we'll talk about those in a minute, are the only official records of the Cherokee. Okay? There seems to be a lot of confusions about the Cherokee rolls, why they were taken, who was on them, what they mean today. And since our time is limited and I can't go through all of these individually, I prepared the handout for you, which should give you a little bit of an abstract and the purpose the roll was taken, when it was taken, the people where they resided when it was taken. So hopefully that will give you a better understanding of the rolls since we came in depth there. Finding your ancestor on these rolls simply means your family is Cherokee. However, nothing in Cherokee genealogy is that simple. Again, in some cases, rumors of Cherokee ancestry can never be proven or traced. The family may in fact be Cherokee, but because of the nature of Cherokee history, some family histories are difficult, again, if not impossible, to document. Why? Well, many Cherokee moved from the Cherokee Nation for various reasons. Or because they were not living within the boundaries of the nation, they could not be recorded as Cherokee on any official records. This is a biggie. Let me repeat that. Because they were not living within the boundaries of the Cherokee Nation, they would not be recorded as Cherokee on any official records. A couple, 3 quick examples. You know, I said those Cherokee Nation, the 1898 Dawes roll is their base roll. There was a bunch of people who had moved down to Texas, pretty close to the tribal lands in Oklahoma. Those people from then on were not considered Cherokee. The Baker roll, 1924, Eastern Band Baker roll, had a residency clause with it. If you were not living within one county contiguous of the current day Qualla boundary in North Carolina, you were not eligible for enrollment on the 1924 Baker roll. It was a choice your ancestors made. Where did they move? It was a choice they made. So if they were living 3 counties down in Georgia in 1924, they were not enumerated on the 1924 Baker Roll and no longer members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. So this residency clause has a lot to do with people who cannot find their ancestors on rolls. If you cannot find your ancestors on one of the Cherokee rolls, again, it does not necessarily mean your family was not Cherokee. They just weren't documented. The key is to never eliminate a possibility too soon. So what can you do when trying to locate undocumented Cherokee ancestors? And a lot of you're sitting here right now thinking, I've got some undocumented Cherokee ancestors. Again, remember, you need to learn the history. I'm sure there's something just now that I told you about one of the 3 Cherokee tribes that you just didn't know, whether they had a blood quantum or not a blood quantum. You need to learn the tribal histories. You need to study the Cherokee histories and the different tribes. You need to pay attention to geography and the time your ancestors were living within that geography. While today the Cherokee people virtually populate every corner of the planet, that was not always the case. On the back of your handout, or at least I think I did, on the back of your handout, I placed a map because I knew you weren't going to be able to see this little thing up here. Before removal westward, the Cherokee people lived within the boundaries of the Cherokee Nation, which encompassed parts of Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Alabama. They also claimed parts of Kentucky, Virginia, and current-day West Virginia as their hunting grounds. So let's take a look at this map. If you kind of look at this horizontal line right here, even though the red border is the limit of the original Cherokee claim, they claimed all of that land. The villages, the people were down here. There's one town up here, but these are where the Cherokee people were living. I have an ancestor who was in current day Logan County, West Virginia. Well, if it is above this horizontal line, there was no Cherokee villages there. That was hunting grounds. If there was a building, it was just a shelter for a hunting season. Their families, the Cherokee, were living down here. Now remember, this is when all Cherokee were in the southeast. Up in this area here, they shared hunting grounds very peacefully with the Chickasaw. Up here, they shared hunting grounds not quite so peacefully with the Shawnee. But for the Cherokee villages, you can see where they were. The Treaty of 1835. When the land was ceded, or at the close of the Revolutionary War, the blue boundary was the Cherokee Nation. All other lands, predominantly hunting grounds, were ceded to the United States in treaties. Sometimes for monetary, sometimes for other husbandry things. For whatever reason, the Cherokee and the United States signed treaties to cede this land to the United States. Excuse me, the colonies. Inside the blue line is all that was left. Well, why is that so important? Well, I'm trying to find an ancestor that was born in 1762. Well, you're not going to find them you're not going to find them up here because this land is no longer Cherokee land. But right in here, there's Cherokee villages. That's South Carolina. That's the colony of South Carolina. So what about these people right here? At the end of the Revolutionary period, they're no longer living in the Cherokee Nation. To continue to be considered part of the Cherokee Nation, what are they going to have to do? Move into the nation. What if they don't? They are no longer considered part of the Cherokee Nation. Okay? It's a choice your ancestors had to make. We have records of these lower town Cherokees that moved up into the nation during that period of time. Another thing I want you to look at is the green line. Or it's not a line, the green shape. Okay? This is what was left at the time of the Treaty of New Echota. So all of this land in here was still part of the Cherokee Nation until the Treaty of New Echota. Cherokees living inside this green, that is the Cherokee who were removed on the forced Trail of Tears in 1835. Remember time and place. Well, right here is current day Cherokee, Qualla Boundary, Cherokee, North Carolina. Is that inside the green line? Do you ever wonder why the Cherokee, some of them are still here in North Carolina? They were living outside of the Cherokee Nation. Were they considered Cherokee, part of the Cherokee Nation? No, they're living outside of the Cherokee Nation. So when the soldiers came in to remove Cherokee, they didn't go outside of this green area. Oh, so that's part of the reason the Eastern Band's still there. Yes. But are they part of the Cherokee Nation? No. Did they have to reestablish their own tribe as another government? Yes. Okay? Time and place and where they were living. So that's important when you start looking for your ancestors. After removal, the Cherokee spread throughout the southern states. But only the Cherokee who were living in current-day Oklahoma were able to register as official members of the Cherokee Nation. The Cherokee who had settled in other areas were considered U.S. citizens and were ineligible to register. So when the Cherokee Nation was forced out of the Southeast, anyone left in the Southeast is a United States citizen and not eligible as a member of the Cherokee Nation. Anyone descended from Cherokee will be able to, from these Cherokee would be able to register with the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma if their ancestors remained within the Cherokee, living inside the Cherokee Nation. Likewise, for those remaining back east of the Mississippi. They were considered, might have been full-blood, but they were considered citizens of the United States. Nevertheless, there was a group of Cherokee in North Carolina for various reasons who were legally allowed to remain on land that they purchased and later formed the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. That's important, that they purchased. I know when you go to Cherokee, you see those big old signs. There's one up above my house. Big old signs that says, "Welcome to the Cherokee Indian Reservation." Well, Cherokee's a tourist town. Okay? If you drove up and saw that big sign and it said, "Welcome to the Qualla Boundary," you're going to pass that sign right up and say, "Have we got there yet?" Okay? That the official title of the lands of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians is the Qualla Boundary. A lot of history passed through to settle all the finances, but ultimately the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians purchased their own land. A reservation is a parcel of land given to American Indians by the federal government. That's what a reservation is. It's a parcel of land given to American Indians by the federal government. And the land in Cherokee, North Carolina was not given to them by the federal government. Okay? So yeah, remember that when you go. It's a tourist town there. The most important thing is to explore. If your family passed down a story that you have a Cherokee ancestor, then by all means continue to explore. American Indians appear in both general and Indian-specific records. General records, as you well know, include birth records, death records, probate records, church records, court records. Ancestry.com is the home to the largest online collection of records relating to American Indians and is a good place to begin looking for Cherokee-specific records. Again, looking for Cherokee-related records, not looking at somebody else's Ancestry.com tree that they have got massively messed up. Because if they're looking for American Indian ancestor and swearing they're Cherokee and they've got a tree on there, I just about guarantee you they've done attached themselves to somebody without any documentation. So I'm not talking about that section of Ancestry.com. I'm talking about where you go search the records. Additional record sets are available on Fold 3. And again, within family search, not the trees, but in their record collection. Cherokee-related records available online include, but are not limited to, enumeration rolls. Again, those are the rolls that's in your handout. A lot of those are on Ancestry.com. In the back door, okay, you kind of got to go into the record search to find those. But that's a whole nother class. We can't get there today. Also, the U.S. Census records. Starting in 1900, Indians on reservations and in general population were enumerated on the U.S. censuses. Some were before that, but it was sporadic, okay? The 1900 and 1910 U.S. Census included an extra question section inquiring about American Indians. These can be found, and most often you will find these at the end of the county records. I know, like at home, for the 1910 census, Cherokee's divided between two counties, Jackson County and Swain County. So the Indians who were on this special Indian population are recorded, but they're at the end of Swain County's, all the other districts of Swain County. So if you're looking at these 1900, 1910 Indian population censuses and you don't see it, you might need to go look at the end of the county. Now, if there's only a few families on there, they're usually intermixed in. U.S. Indian Census Rolls. An 1884 Act of Congress required the Department of Indian Affairs agents in charge of reservations to submit a yearly census of Indians under their jurisdiction. They began in 1885 and were required up to 1940. I get stuck in the 1800s, up to 1940. So every year, and these are on Ancestry.com, so every year the BIA agent, and I'm using North Carolina as an example, the BIA agent had to take a census of everybody that was the Cherokee who were living there and submit it to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. When it gets up to about 1936, at the end of these, they have birth and death records. The tribe recently did an audit of the tribal rolls, and one of the requirements was everybody had to have a birth certificate. Well, some of our old timers that was born at home didn't have a birth certificate, didn't have a delayed birth certificate. So we went back to these censuses and found where they were born, and that helped out with that audit. So that is a real good time and place. Again, these are on Ancestry. School records, Indian school records, they're per school. Like if it was at Carlisle Indian School, and a lot of Cherokee were sent out to Carlisle Indian School. Those records, Carlisle has those online per their school. Chilocco has theirs. There's an Oklahoma History Center. The Eastern Band has some of their school records online, but most of them are in the archives. So the ones that are online, they're per school wherever they have placed those. Don't forget to look at the Dawes Commission records if you're looking for somebody on the other side of the Mississippi out in Indian Territory. The Dawes Commission records are on Ancestry. They include the applications, the land allotment records, and the enrollment cards, and it is searchable. Miller Commission records was done in 1906 nationwide. It was a court of claims. There was money left from the removal treaty. The United States wanted to divvy that money up to all Cherokee because it was set aside for Cherokee. So the commission that did this divvying up was the Miller Commission. These are on fold 3 and they are rich. I will tell you, there was over 200,000 people in the Southeast who applied for this. I promise you there wasn't 200,000 people. So the advertisements in the newspapers said, money, 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 you want money? So everybody came to sign up. Well, it ended up like down around 6,000 or so, that actual. However, just about everybody in the Southeast, whether they was Indian or not, applied for this money. These applications are the person, where they were living, when they were born, who's mama, who's daddy, who's your brothers, who's your sisters, who's your aunts, who's your uncles, who's your grandma, who's your grandpa. I mean, they are full of genealogy, and they are on Fold 3, and they are searchable. Again, it was done in 1906. The entire commission took about 3 years to finish. The Baker Roll Commission, that's those Eastern Band people. A lot of people applied in 1924. They applied to become members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. Did all of them make it? No. But the record trail is there, and it's full of information. The Baker Commission records are on Ancestry.com. There's transcripts, there's the applications, there's correspondences, findings. So that's another rich record set that it don't hurt to go check. They might have applied. Okay? As we conclude this session, let's review the 5 basic outcomes of Cherokee genealogy. You find that you have a direct ancestor on one of the final rolls. You prove that you are Cherokee, but you're not eligible for enrollment. You heard rumors of Cherokee ancestry, but you could not prove or trace the documented link. You heard rumors of Cherokee ancestry, but in reality, you've proved that it was a totally different tribe. There was a lot of tribes, and I don't know why it's always Cherokee. You know, there was several tribes down here in the east, and it's always, I almost got tongue-tied. Everybody looking for an ancestor had a Cherokee grandmother or Cherokee great-grandmother. Nobody had a Cherokee grandpa or great-grandpa. It's always my Cherokee grandma. So I am off of that soapbox, okay? And lastly, you proved rumors of Cherokee ancestry to be false. And I'm past my time. Can I do Q&A? He said, if you need to sneak out, feel free to sneak out, but I'm going to take some presentation-related questions, not personal questions. Yes, ma'am.
Who sends you the certificate of First Families?
Oh, I left that on there. I'm sorry. I should have taken that off.
Oh.
They have discontinued. They have discontinued that program. She asked, who does the First Family certificate? The person who did those was in Oklahoma, and it was the Oklahoma Historical Society, and they have defuncted one building, moving into another, and they have discontinued all services. Yes, ma'am.
You have referred to Fold 3, and I'm not familiar with that source. Could you spell that, please? FOLD dot the numeral 3. Fold3.com is the military arm of Ancestry.com. So most people go to Fold 3 for their Civil War ancestors, for all that, but it's rich in Cherokee history. It has all of the old agency records that you can go, and they have store lists, and they have letters that was sent. They have the people they put in jail, and they have all kinds, and passports. That's something else that's kind of, oh, I'm getting started again. Okay, passports. Cherokee Nation. If a non-Cherokee was coming onto Cherokee lands, they had to have a passport, just like you have to have a passport today, because it was a sovereign nation. It was a foreign nation to the United States, and they were required to have passports. These passports are full of it. They're telling you where the person's going, when they're going, how long they're going to be there, what they're going to do when they're there, and whether they came back or not. So check passport records. Most of the passports are for non-Indian people.
But still, if John Doe is going into Graham County, North Carolina, and needs a passport, he might be going to see Junaluska. Aha! So there you've got Junaluska, and you've got where he was living because this non-Indian got a passport to go see him. Just connect all the dots. Okay, questions? Yes?
The 1930 U.S. Census, Swain County, has a listing of whether mixed blood or full-blood Cherokee.
Most all.
Is that accurate? Well,
No.
what do you make of that?
No. Is it a Cherokee enumeration roll or is it an Indian census? No.
That would be the U.S. government.
Correct. Now remember, that's another key thing is a federal census, a U.S. census, records what the person in the house tells them. Well, those full-bloods don't speak English. Got a problem. And don't depend, if you're going to search, like, and my husband descends from the bear meat family, one of his families. Yonachiwea. I bet that is spelled 56 different ways. So don't limit your search because non-Indian census takers wrote down what they heard. And I'm telling you, I've tried to learn the language. It's not what it sounds like. Okay? Yes, sir.
What is the status of the snowbird community? Are they an offshoot of the Eastern Band, or?
They are, his question's the Snowbird Indians. Snowbird is a community. I went day before yesterday to a wedding for my great nephew. It is just a community of Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. So remember I said Qualla boundary? When the removal, they bought, there's a few parcels of land that was bought outside of this one contiguous, it's not a circle, but we'll call it a circle. So there was some land that Cherokee purchased outside of this circle. Some out in Peachtree in Cherokee County, some out in Graham County and Snowbird, other in Graham County. It is still Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians land. And they are Eastern Band of Cherokee enrollees.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions for you. You talked about the federally recognized Cherokee tribes. How many non-federally recognized tribes are there?
The 3 federally recognized tribes do not recognize non-federally recognized tribes. They are either a 501c3 or a club.
Okay.
They are not official, and for lack of a better word, real quick.
Okay.
They had to gain their status in a way that's a club or a 501c3.
Okay. And my second question was about the roles that you had checked that were used by the Eastern Band Enrollment Office. Why are the checked ones used and the non-checked ones?
Some of them are not complete.
Okay.
That might not have all members on them. For instance, the one that was done right after the Civil War, it was done to help the Cherokee who were just desperate after the war, and a non-governmental official, a local person did that, and it's not recognized by the federal government.
Thank you.
And I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to repeat her question. She wanted to know why some of those check marks were there and some were not. Yes, sir.
For some of these rolls, were they recorded with the Cherokee, their Cherokee names rather than anglicized names, or did it sort of transition into that as you go along? Does that make sense, my question?
Yes, he's saying, you know, those older rolls, you see a lot of phonetics, syllables with dashes or have phonetical names, and that's just transitioning from the old law and the old life of the Cherokee, more anglicized, more intermarried whites, more interaction with neighbors, and more non-traditional communities going in. And there's some names, although there is a revitalization of the language going on right now, a big push with all three tribes to revitalize. So we hope someday to start seeing those. I won't know how to talk to them, but anyway, Robin might. But yes, you will see that a lot. There's a couple of the rolls that has more than one column for a name, and they will have their Anglo name, and then they will have their phonetical Cherokee name. None of the rolls have the syllabary. They all have the phonetics. There's one roll of people who went west in 1881, and it does have the syllabary. And when the invitee stands up, that tells us we're done.
How about a round of applause? Thank you, Anita. Certainly appreciate that. Appreciate everyone being here. Hope you enjoyed that presentation. Feel free, if you have time today, to visit the museum as our guest. We have an exhibit up right now on Carl and Pearl Butler. Also, if you're just dying to get on Fold 3 or Ancestry, the McClung Collection is open this afternoon, and they can get you onto those resources available to you. So we hope you join us again. We'll see you all soon.